Welcome to Refuse to Lose. My name is Joe Jordan. I am your host today. Today we're going to dive into the NFL and talk about my top five teams going into the week 4. All right, but before we do that, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you already know what I'm going to say. Last but not least, enjoy the rest of the show. So, who are the top five teams going into week 4? Now, I'm not basing this off potential, like who's eventually going to be top five in the year. If that was the case, I would have the Chiefs in my top five. So, spoiler alert, Chiefs are not my top five right now because they're 1-2. I gotta respect the game. All right, so I'm just basing this off of what we've seen so far, based on the first 3 weeks. Who are the top five teams in the NFL this season? And today, who I put as the top five teams? All right, so now let's start with number 5. I have the Buffalo Bills. Now, the reason why the Buffalo Bills are 2-1. They play the Steelers, the Dolphins, Washington football team. Now, granted, they lost to the Steelers in the first game, and then they beat the Tua-less Dolphins. Tua got hurt in the beginning of the game, and they beat Washington football team. Now, what I like about when your opponent, if you're playing a bad team, you gotta finish them, and that's what the Bills been doing. All right, now you look at the Bills stats right now. They're in yards and offensive yards. They're 12th in the league, which is almost middle of the pack. But that's what I like about them. Defensive yardage, they are 4th in the league. Points per game offensively, they're 4th in the league. Points per game defense, 4th in the league. So on points, both ends of the ball, they're elite. They're a top 5 defense right now. I know, like I said, it's week 3. It's early. It's through week 3. Top 5 defense right now, and a top 5 offense right now, while blowing out their opponents. Right. So that's why I have the Bills at number 5. At number 4, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are 3-0. They play the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Dolphins. What I like about all 3 of their wins, they were all close games. All right. And then they weren't games when you could sit back and say, oh, if the Ravens didn't do this or the Steelers didn't do this, Dolphins didn't do this, they would have won. No, the Raiders won all those games. They had to go down the field and score to win these games. All right. And that's what I like about them. Also, they're the best yardage wise. They're the number 1 offense in the league right now. All right. I believe they average 471 yards per game. All right. So that's why I have the Raiders at number 4. At number 3, we have the Carolina Panthers. Now, these are one of the biggest surprises this year. I think a lot of people were saying Donald. They didn't expect a lot, but not a lot. They didn't know what to expect from this team. I know I didn't. I didn't know there would be a good team, a bad team. So I never gave a analyst on this team. All right. So the Panthers 3-0. They play the Jets, the Saints, then the Texans. All right. The Jets and the Texans were poor teams because they didn't have Texans didn't have Tyrod Taylor, and the Jets are winless. All right. So now, but when they play these teams, they just like the Bills, they handle business. But when they play the Saints, after destroying the Packers, and people are hounding the Packers right now, the Saints destroy the Packers. All right. The Panthers just exposed the Saints, and a lot of people have doubts about the Saints only because they play the Panthers. The Panthers are the yardage wise, they're the number 1 defense in the league. They're 10th in offense in yardage wise, and points allowed per game, they're 2nd in the league. So far they have shown an elite defense, and they're better than average on the offensive end. So that's why I have the Panthers at number 3. And number two, I have the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of people have them number 1. I have them number 2, guys. Now let's talk about the Rams. The Rams are 3-0. They played the Bears, the Colts, and the Bucks. All right. So the reason why I have them number 2 because they play the Bears, who are 1-2. They play the Colts, who are 0-3. Now I believe the Colts are better with their record says because they had 3 tough opponents coming out the season. They had to play the Titans, they had to play the Seahawks, and they had to play the Rams. So the 3 tough opponents, and they play the Bucks, right, who have a terrible defense. Now, the reason why I have the Rams number 2 and number 1 is this right here. Offensive yardage, they're 13th in the league. Defensive yardage, they're 21st in the league. All right. Points per game, they're 3rd. Offensively, defensive, they're 9th. But 21st in yards allowed per game with this defense. See, a lot of people get caught up on what's on paper. They see on paper, oh, they have this player, that player. Oh, look at this. They on paper, they one of the best teams in the league, right? Plus, they just beat the Bucks. A lot of people are high. See, people are prisoner of the moment from the last game, and they saw that they beat the Bucks Oh, and a lot of people are high on the Bucks going into that game. But look at the Bucks play the Cowboys, right? Who are a terrible defensive team. Now, of course, they are better than last year. But in yards wise, they average they allow 27 points. They are 27 yards. I mean, sorry, they're 27th in yards per allowed per game. So, and then also they play the Falcons, who the Falcons did put a lot of points on the Bucks, right? Even though the Bucks won by a lot, but they kept their starters in to the end of the game because the Falcons made it a fight going into the fourth quarter. All right. And then they played the St. Louis Rams without AB, without JPP. So the Rams did what they had to do, but I don't have a number two. Sorry, number one, I have a number two. Now, number one, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are 3-0. They beat the Titans, the Vikings, and the Jags. The Titans, they destroyed the Titans. And then what I like about that Titans game, they showed you what they can do defensively and offensively, right? And ever since they beat the Titans beat the Colts and they beat the Seahawks, all right? Now, then they beat the Vikings. Now, granted, the Vikings missed a field goal at the last seconds, right? But a win is a win. They beat the Vikings, who played 3 tough games this year, and they just beat the Seahawks, all right? And then you have the Jaguars. The Jaguars, now, in the first half of the game, you can look at the Cardinals all like, what's going on, right? But then in the second half, the defense got a pick six. So the second half, the defense ignited the offense. So that's what I like about the Cardinals. They showed you throughout the season that what they can do on both ends of the floor, both ends of the field, being a great offensive team and a defensive team. So and then Kyler Murray's playing lights out. He's playing at an MVP level, right? And then they're 3-0. So that's why I have the Cardinals at number one. So those are my top 5 teams going into week 4.
Great job. You made it to the end. I really appreciate that. You made it to the end. Now, before you leave this video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell also so you can be notified when we drop our next video. And lastly, make sure use the comment section. Put your comments down. Tell me what you think about this topic we just went over. Tell me your comments, your opinions, and maybe we can have a chat debate in the comments. So I appreciate you guys for staying, and I'll see you at the next show.